Hello everybody, it's been a little while. I've had a few complications, but I am back and I'm going to be working on lots of new videos in the coming weeks. So today we're just going to do a quick catch up on what's going on with my hobbying, because there's a lot of different projects that I am either working on or would like to work on. So back in August, I got a box of Venari Dawn Riders for the Lumineth Realm Lords from my parents. It was an awesome birthday gift, but I didn't end up building them at all until the new year because I wanted to actually play them in Warcry. So I built them up, I put them on their little horsies, and then I was playing in the game with them, but I had to paint them at some point here, and I eventually started to get to that because I was working on some Cities of Sigmar stuff in the prior weeks. What I didn't realize was that, well, I guess I kind of realized that it was going to be really hard to paint these Lumineth models once they were fully assembled. And with my other Lumineth models, with my Sentinels, with my Wardens, the Blade Lords, there was some assemblies going on for all of them. And in the future, when I build more Lumineth models, because I really want to do that, I am going to do sub-assemblies. There's no question there. So I started to paint them up. It's been really interesting. I can see how much I've improved because my first ever painted models was the Lumineth Vanguard. And so this is after doing the Vanguard, after doing the army box for Cities of Sigmar. And now I'm putting my skills to the test. And I think I'm starting to get a little bit better, but I guess you can be the judge of that. But either way, these models look fantastic. They're super, they're exactly what you would expect from a high fantasy, elf cavalry to kind of look like. And they have multiple poses. They have the Bannerman. They have the charging. That's my favorite one. The charging Lancer. They have the Steed Master with his sword drawn. And so when I actually started to focus on these models, I decided that I was going to focus on very specific pieces of like each model, and then just kind of do like sub batches of painting as I went. So that meant that, first I was going to do the horse colors, and I did 5 different colors for the horses. I was going to do the green cloth, which I'm doing with a contrast paint, Aldari Emerald. Then I focused on the bronze armor, followed by the silver, the scales, the chain, whatever you want to call it, and then the wood accent, the spears and the parts of the saddle that might be leather or something. And then finally I used some washes to get shading done on the model. So it's a very simple scheme, and I'm starting to get better at it, but I'm trying to update it. I'm trying to go beyond that now. It's time to start working on the finer details of these models. And so that's what I did. I'm learning a lot of lessons about what I might do differently in the future. That's the main takeaway here. And I'm going to be cutting footage over this whole thing of like the models and photos and videos and stuff. But namely, I'm learning how important it is to do 2 thin coats. That's just the single best piece of advice people give you online, and it's 100% true. Who would have thought? I'm also seeing how difficult it can be to do the fine details on the Lumineth models. I can see why people didn't recommend them to like new players. Don't start with the Lumineth. But if that's what you like the most, then you probably should start the Lumineth like I did. But I do recommend doing sub-assemblies whenever possible, because you're going to get the most out of it when you've done those sub-assemblies. And I do really like my bronze, Balthasar gold scheme that I'm using, but I don't have a way to accent it really well. And I'd like to get a lighter gold, like a Retributor armor or whatever it's called, as a way to mix in, a lighter gold. If anyone has tips on how I could do that, you can let me know as well, but that's a huge thing for me. I also need to do some highlights on the silver, some highlights on the wood, and some highlights on the horse mane. I did a little bit of dry brushing, but I'm still trying to figure out how to do the gray and the white horses, because every single guide I have found about horses, they require me to use maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 grays and whites and different things that I just don't have access to. I have a single white, I have a single gray, and I know I can do some mixing to try to figure out some other kind of shades, but that's kind of an advanced skill in my eyes of like getting it right every single time and then replicating that across a whole model. So yeah, I started to paint the runes on the armor, and I'll show that in the video. And what I have to do for those is they've already been painted gold, so I started using Morghast bone to like coat those runes, and then apply the Aldari Emerald on top of that to make this cool like gold and green color effect that I'm going for. I'm finding it's super hard to do those runes. I would love to do the runes on the actual like chest plates of these Dawn Riders, but there's just no way that it's like in between where they've got their spear, and I'm not going to be able to paint in there very easily, so I'm going to give up on that. But in the future, I definitely see why I would do that, you know, prior to assembling the entire model. But either way, that's like the next step for me, is getting those like little fine details, the gems that are on the head, you know, on the sides of the helmets, on the sword has a gem on both sides, even the chest part of the barding for the horse has a gem, or I mean, they're not gems, they're aether quartz, right? It's aether quartz, but that's what I'm starting to paint up as well. So in other news, I'm thinking about what my next purchases might be, and there's actually something that might surprise people, which is that I'm thinking about getting an Arcane Cataclysm set. And if I did, I would actually get to paint more Dawn Riders, because this set is going to get you a Cenari Enlightener, a Venari, 5 Venari Blade Lords, which I already have 5 of, 5 Venari Dawn Riders, which I've just talked about, and then 10 Orelon Sentinels, which would be the archers, which I also have 10 from the you know, from the Vanguard box. So I would really supplement my Lumineth forces. They'd become quite physical because I'd have, you know, reinforced Blade Lord unit, I'd have a reinforced Dawn Rider unit, and then 2 units of 10 Sentinels. I've got the Wardens, etc. But what you might be wondering about here is, you know, why am I considering getting a box that has the Tzeentch side of it as well? Because it comes with a Curseling. It comes with 3 Zangors Enlightened on discs of Tzeentch. It has 10 Zangor unit or models. It has 20 times Carrick acolytes. And so, like, what's the deal with that? Well, to be honest with you, I've long thought about what would be a faction that I would play, which is not based in the Order, you know, Grand Alliance. And I thought about death, and I thought about destruction, and then we got the faction focus for the Disciples of Tzeentch, and they had the Weird Flame, and it was such a cool mechanic, this dot mechanic that you could apply. And it seems kind of lame because you can only apply it once per turn, but I think there's going to be mechanics that we see in the greater reveal of the faction that will allow you to do more, and that's what I'm really hoping for. I want to see the whole faction pack before I commit to the army, but I think it would be really cool to kind of paint up and play a different style and type of army lore wise than, you know, my classic good guys that I've been playing, although the Lumineth aren't necessarily good guys depending on which perspective you're looking from, right? I've also been reading the Callus and Toll books, and so Tzeentch is heavily involved in the original story, in the kind of like attack on Excelsis, and then they're very much involved in the Silver Shard to an awesome degree, where they are fighting a big Seraphon force versus Tzeentch force. It's very, very cool, and it got me a little bit hyped up to play some Tzeentch. So I'm going to wait on the faction focus, or the faction pack, which we should get like next week or something, or maybe even a week later. We'll see how that all turns out. But if I like it, then there's really no, you know, downside to buying this Arcane Cataclysm box, because you forget about like that comes with the cards, and it comes with some tokens and some books and stuff. If those are all out of date and they don't have a use, that's fine, because the amount of savings you get for buying all these models is ridiculous. My friendly local gaming store has 3 copies of this set, and if I were to add up how much they would charge me for the Lumineth half of the box, it's already more than what they're charging for the box. So already a deal there. Plus I get the whole Tzeentch side. I can eventually work on that as well. So that would be pretty cool. So in other news, I'm going to be working on some new videos. Like I talked about, I want to do a bunch of some really helpful videos that would be for brand new players, to experienced players, to beyond, people that are interested in 4th edition. And so it would be stuff like how to pick a faction, the lore of all factions, like summarized in like a condensed way, so you can get a taste of everybody in one single video. So maybe it's 30 seconds per faction, or maybe it's a minute per faction. I don't know, because a minute per faction is like 23 minutes already right there. A play style guide to all factions. How do they play? What are their pros and cons? How to play Age of Sigmar 4th edition, how to play Spearhead, things like that. That's kind of what I want to work on. And then otherwise, for like a little personal update, we'll put at the end of the video here. It's my last week of school. So I have 2 days left, and then I'm on vacation, and I want to be really productive with my free time and get lots of content out. So we'll see, because For return viewers, I've struggled with some head stuff. Unfortunately, keeps coming back in various ways. I have not had another concussion, but I just have some bad days every once in a while, and so I'm still kind of dealing with that. But I'm really hopeful the summer is going to be a fresh start for me. So otherwise, I'm playing a lot of Warhammer Total War 3 that my friend gifted to me. So I'm just playing a ton of that, trying Tzeentch out in that, of course. And then I've also been playing a Eiyuden Chronicle, and I hope to finish that soon. And I know I was, saying I was going to do a review of that game when my channel was previously covering RPGs. So I might just share in a post my thoughts about that game once I'm done. But we'll have to see how that all shakes out. So otherwise, that's my hobby update. I still have like Cities of Sigmar stuff. You can see my painting desk behind me. There's a ogre in the there's an ogre on this side in the back corner. My Fusel Major on Ogre Warhulk that's looking pretty good. He also needs the finer details worked on with him, but maybe we'll save that for another hobby update as I progress on that model. So otherwise, thank you all for checking this out. We'll see you all again soon in another video.